What is up, and welcome back to Talk Nutrition. Today I want to do a little physique update because I put up a poll on my Instagram where I asked you guys, hey, this is where I'm currently at. These are my current goals, training split, like those kind of things. Like, are you interested in that, right? Are you curious about my macros, like what I'm doing, what I've been working on this year so far? And you guys responded with a lot of excitement. So that being said, today we're going to dive into that. I'm going to take you all the way back to November 2023. And we're going to take you through my cut, my reverse diet into maintenance, a summer with a couple bumps in the road, into my lean gaining phase where I'm currently at, where I'm one of those people where like I need to keep adding food more and more and more just for my weight to be stable. And then it bumps up by 1 or 2 kilos and it stays there again. That's where I'm currently at, but we'll get into that. So I'll make sure to also drop some more personal updates here because I think it's interesting. What I want you to know as well is don't do anything with these kind of macros, right? These are based on my maintenance calories, my goals, those kind of things. And I could be speaking to, 2,800 calories, 3,000, 3,200, and I've been even higher at times. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you should eat those macros or that you should eat the same macro split that I go with, right? So just see this as a example. I'll take you through my training split as well, my current program, because I want to share that too. I think it's very interesting. And then we'll just take it from there, see what happens, right? Because I think it's important to kind of give you some insight in terms of like long-term transformations, because I'm really breaking down a full year of training, nutrition, changes. I'm speaking 12 months here, you know what I mean? Real results take time. If you go into your journey thinking it's going to be a 12-week diet or maybe even half a year, and to be honest with you, half a year, you can reach a lot of goals, right? You can definitely achieve a very solid fat loss phase. Plus go into the reverse diet, the keeping it off part, maintaining. But especially when it comes to muscle gain and those kind of things, you want to be patient. It's going to take time. And once you get the main weight loss section or chunk out of the way, you'll be at a place where, hey, now I can start to play with muscle gain phases, maybe performance, whatever it is, or even just chill and eat for health. I chose to go into muscle gain just because I like pushing myself, kind of see how far we can bring it in terms of muscle mass. I even got super lean this year as well, the leanest I've ever been, which was definitely very difficult too. But here's the thing, it wasn't perfect. Not at all. Like, I had a very rough year, to be honest with you. And we don't have to get into specifics, but a lot of personal things that messed with my mindset. A couple of roadblocks to overcome, right? Times where I was either very motivated or just not at all. Times where I was super busy. Times where I had a little bit more time. Times where I was traveling, right? Where I actually moved and as you might know, if you've been listening, like I got a van that I wanted to convert into a camper van. It broke down. Then I didn't have a place to stay, like a whole bunch of stuff, you know what I mean? But through that whole period, I've been pretty consistent. And if we zoom out completely and think 80-20, because we always talk about that, right? 80-20. If you look at the 80% of this year so far, I'm definitely good. You know what I mean? 20%, let's call it, hiccups, overeating, undereating, not training for a week multiple times, just mentally not being in a great spot. Like, that's all part of the journey. It's all part of the Odyssey, right? So I want you to keep that in mind. At no stage in your journey should you expect yourself to be perfect with everything, because if we go in with that expectation, we're only going to let ourselves down. Okay, let's go back in time. 2022 was a year for me that was all about work. It was all about, right, leveling up, becoming a better coach. I still trained hard, but right, I kind of let my own fitness, not slip, definitely not, but I didn't really push. Now, then we get into 2023, and I was like, you know what? Like, right now, I just want to focus on my business. I was still in shape, I still trained, but throughout all of 2023, it wasn't really that much, to be honest with you. Like, on average, I would say like I might have spent a few months in a slight deficit, but it was mostly just maintenance. I trained maybe 3 times a week on average for the majority of the year. And I didn't really push that much. Now, again, this was a decision. And I want you to know as well, like, hey, there's going to be seasons in life where you really double down on training, and other times where there's not so much time or focus on that training or on fat loss or on muscle gain. And that's totally okay. life is seasonal. So that was a decision I made. I want to spend less time at the gym, which, by the way, I'm going to say this too, I didn't feel that great, right? Because gym time is also good for your mental health. It's good for your health in general, right? Wasn't doing a lot of cardio, so my cardio kind of suffered as well. So late 2023, I got a coach again. I coach with Cody McBroom, who runs Taylor Coaching Method. He was my mentor in 2021. He was my nutrition and fitness coach both in 2022 early on, and then this year basically for just about 7 months, I think it was. And I basically told him, like, look, I've been kind of chilling when it comes to nutrition training, and I want to get my shit back together. I want someone to push me. I want someone to hold me accountable, and I want to see what we can achieve. Now, I was already tracking at the time. So this was November 2023. I was tracking because I knew I wanted to get a coach again. I hit up Cody, right? I said, hey, look, this is where I'm currently at. I'm currently tracking. So what we did, we started November, and the first few weeks, I want to say 2 to 4 weeks, we just held that level of maintenance. And I'll break down a few things like calories and stuff in a sec. But this is where you want to start. You don't just want to jump into something. You want to create consistency in your measurements, your data, etc. So now we can start to toggle, you know what I mean? So that's all we did. For a couple of weeks, same targets really. He only brought up my protein at that time. And then we just kind of held there. And then the steps had to go up and back into training and those kind of things. He had me do a bunch of tests so that he could program my workouts, right? So we started again. And that being said, also my tracking got more accurate because when I'm maintaining, I either don't track at all or I'll do it like every other week or like a couple days out of the week. Now it was like every single day, weighing everything, just getting things really in check. So we kind of stayed there, collected data. And at the time I was around 2,900 calories. We brought my protein from 200 up to 240, which is quite a high. And then he put me on a 5 times a week training program. And the sessions were quite long, to be honest with you. Sometimes 1.5 hours longer sessions, which was also because of, leg days can be rough and I rested a lot, sometimes up to 2 hours. So this is also a period where I decided I will now spend more time at the gym, right? I was willing to make that trade-off. It was a lot of my time and it didn't always stay up to like 1.5, 2 hours. You know what I mean? It was a lot of volume. I brought it down since then, but just so you know, that's where we started, right? My program changed like every 2 or so months. And eventually I told him, hey, look, we've been really pushing. I need to bring it down now for work purposes, right? Like I needed more time in my schedule. Now, so that being said, my steps at the time were only like 4,000. So what I did was I got a walking pad. So that was a big one, right? Walking pad. I could get my steps in when I was working. That was a huge one. And we're just dialing things in. Protein, right? But here's the cool thing. Just from that short-term change, dialing things in, we already saw some improvements. Minor improvements, but still improvements. So then we went into a cut. So I dropped down from just about 2,900 calories down to 2,400. So we cut 500 calories with the same protein, so that stayed at 240. My fats were down to just about 55, 60, which is low, but we wanted to do so that we could get as many carbs in as possible. Training stayed the same, 5 times a week. My daily step goal was now 10,000, which was quite a bit compared to what I was doing in 2023. And then we also added a couple cardio sessions. And this was next to my daily steps. So we were doing, in the beginning, it was 2 cardio sessions per week, just about 20, 30 minutes, incline treadmill, a good pace, but not like super high heart rate. And in the beginning, I was doing that twice a week. Eventually brought it up to 4, but that's where I was at. I would do some cardio in the morning, right, while doing my emails and stuff. And like I said, while I was working from home, I did have my walking pad. So that was a huge one, right? Now, during Christmas, I did take a break because we started like November. During Christmas, like, I'm not going to be dieting. I'm not going to be tracking. I want to enjoy. I didn't overdo it, obviously, but I just, I was like, hey, I need a bit of a break. It's been a busy year. Let's hold for a little bit and then continue, which we did. And then we dieted through January, February, March. And here's the kicker. My calories stayed at 2,400 that whole time. I'm going to be honest here. There were times I got very impatient, but that's why we need a coach. I'm not, because I'm a nutrition coach, like doesn't mean that I'm different. You know what I mean? Like we all have these moments. So the accountability, the guidance, and the objectivity someone can give you, right, as the coach, is so huge, because you're gonna have those moments. You get impatient. Hey, when are we cutting calories, etc. We stayed at 2,400 that whole period. That's just over 3 months with the same targets. And I see you sometimes, whoever's listening, right, get impatient after sometimes 2 weeks of your weight barely moving. So I'm painting this picture here, right? 3 months with minimal weight loss. I'll explain more in a sec. With the same targets. And he kept me there. The only thing that changed was that the steps gradually went up to 10K. And then my cardio sessions did go from 2 to, I think it was just about 4 times a week eventually. Now, there were times I didn't perfectly stick with my macros. That needs to be said. We all have our moments. But generally speaking, like 80-20, right? I was doing pretty good. Training was improving. And because I now was pushing so much more, because I went from not doing as much in 2023 to now 5 times a week, long sessions, a lot of volume. And there's like a lot of good research on, high volume training. We saw a lot of improvements, which is also why we didn't drop my calories further, because I was building muscle. You know how I always talk about muscle gain and fat loss being separate goals? That was still a goal, but here's the thing. You can still see muscle growth during a fat loss phase if you're patient. So we went with that patient approach. So by the end of the three and a half-ish months of cutting, I had only dropped 3.5 kilos. But here's the cool thing. Because you might think, okay, 3.5 kilos, that's maybe just over 1 kilo per month. Let's call it a kilo a month because the cut was just about 3.5 months. Not that much, right? Yet I see people online getting impatient when they lose half or 1 kilo per week. You see? For me, it was a kilo per month. But I dropped 4.5 centimeters around my waist, 3.5 centimeters lower waist, and then I gained 2 centimeters around my chest. I gained 1.5 centimeters around my biceps, and then I gained 2 centimeters around my thighs. We also did a DEXA scan because, of course, measurements are great. And what I will say with my clients, we all do measurements, we do photos. That's plenty with that weight, of course. But if we can get access to a DEXA, and I just happen to know a few people, we can really see, hey, we can actually test and we can check body fat levels and those kind of things. And this was really cool. So in December 2023, the very beginning of my cut, I did a DEXA scan. And then again, 1 week after ending my fat loss phase, and this was in April. So first week of December through the first week of April. Like I said, my weight had dropped, right? Not as much. And on those specific days, because I just mentioned the 3.5 kilos, that was on average, weekly average. On those specific days, I was 87.4 kilos the first, before the cut. Then I was 85.8 kilos on a day, April, where I checked. So that's really day to day. If you look at it that way, that was only just about 2.4 kilos of difference. But I dropped from 11.6% body fat to 8.3% body fat. My lean body mass went up by 1.1 kilo. My fat-free mass went up by just about a kilo. I do want you to know that that also includes other things. That is not muscle, right? It includes water, food, those kind of things. But this just goes to show that as much as my weight didn't drop as much, my body fat percentage went down by 3.3%. And my lean body mass went up by a kilo, as well as my fat-free mass. That's cool, right? So we were happy with that. I lost fat, I gained muscle, even though I didn't lose as much weight. Now, we chose to go with that moderate deficit, like I said, because the measurements were showing, hey, we are doing good. Now, do you need to do a DEXA scan like in the middle of a cut? No, and that's also why we didn't do it. Because there's going to be muscle glycogen, which, by the way, also counts towards, fat-free mass. But it's just interesting to see, right? Start and how we can really transform in just about, 3.5 or so months. The end was tough, though, to be honest with you. I do need to mention this. The very end of my fat loss phase was rough. That was the most hungry I've ever felt when dieting. It was the leanest I've ever been in my life with the most amount of muscle mass, and I felt like crap. Energy was rough, I was very stressed in general. You can sometimes feel that stress, very hungry, very, very hungry, to a point where I was struggling, right? I was snacking on like very low calorie foods like pickles and stuff. But at some point, like, you start to notice, hey, now it's about enough. You know what I mean? Which is why I do have a lot of respect for bodybuilders, because shit's tough. It's tough. And I was at 8.3% body fat. Bodybuilders go even lower. The leaner you get, the longer you diet, etc., the harder it becomes. Keep that in mind. It was tough. It was a struggle. And I really mean that. Now, obviously, right? Why did we do this? Do I have to get that lean? No. But I wanted to push myself physically, mentally, see where we could get, in terms of like lean, leanness, muscle gain, those kind of things. And you know what? Like, I was happy with the results. And then, of course, it was time to increase food again. So I want to speed things up a little bit, because I don't want to necessarily go into every single macro adjustment or changes in training. And we'll dive into training in a sec. But by the end of the cut, we started my reverse diet. This is where most people will fuck up worldwide. You might think, hey, I've lost my weight, I'm good. You're not. You're not done yet. By no means should you be like, hey, okay, cool. Let's go back to doing whatever we were doing. Absolutely not. The first few weeks of reverse dieting should still be whole food focused, like 90% whole foods. Don't think, hey, I have multiple hundreds of calories now to play with. That's all going to go to pizza, all going to go to ice cream, chocolate. No, keep it clean. I don't like to use that word as much, but you know what I mean, right? Whole foods. At the end of a cut, your energy is going to be low. Your hunger is going to be through the roof. Stress on the body, on the system is high, right? We are more inclined to give into temptations. It's normal, but we got to keep that in mind. Plus, our metabolism will have slowed down just a little bit, kind of depending on how far you push it. But, generally speaking, it slows down, especially when you lose a lot of weight. That's a normal thing. It could speed up again too, which in my case, currently, it's apparently still speeding up, but we got to keep things in check. You got to keep things in check. Like, you got to go to maintenance in at least a few steps. Be patient, but the calories have to go up. So what we did was we jumped halfway between where I ended my cut and my expected maintenance, which was, I think, about an increase of just about 200 calories, roughly. We then kept adding food pretty much weekly and sometimes every 2 weeks. So there was a little bit every time. 10 carbs, sometimes 25 carbs, 5 fats, 10 carbs, 10 carbs, nothing, 10 carbs, 10 carbs. And I kept going for a couple months, to where now, and we're in October now, like almost at the end of October at the time of this recording, I'm still adding food. But what has my weight done? What has my weight done? Because it has gone up a bit. My measurements have also improved. But let me actually go through my notes, because I do want to make sure I cover all my notes there when it comes to measurements and weight and all that kind of stuff. Because, like I said, we were adding food every single week pretty much. And then sometimes we would hold and, kind of see what the weight's doing, but we kept adding, right? And that's been months now. Now, at some point, I told Cody, hey, look, we're going into maintenance. I'm good for now, right? I do kind of want to sometimes take a break from tracking, and I feel like I'm in a good spot, right? And I really like to do that sometimes. I'll get a coach every year or so to learn, but also be held accountable. But I was ready to continue on my own. Now, through the biggest part of that reverse diet into maintenance, and I want you to know maintenance is a range of a few hundred calories, but through that period of going back to actual maintenance, my weight went up from 83.5 at the lowest to just about 85, 86. So I gained just about 1.5, 2 kilos or so during that period. So that was April through August. So it's still minimal, right? Now, during that time, there was definitely some times where I didn't track. Some personal things happened, as I shared earlier, but I kept training. Sometimes I took a break from training. I was traveling, right? I went south, a little bit of a vacation, those kind of things, had a road trip. But altogether, it was stable. Then I got a new training program, because I always want to be on a program, right? That's crucial. Like, if you want to get good results, like, be on a training program and follow it to a T, the way it's programmed. Don't get too creative. Don't change shit up too much. Like, get a program, stick with it 6 to 8 weeks. The way my program is structured now is it's 6 weeks every cycle, where the first week you leave just about 3 reps in reserve, meaning the very last rep you do in a set. You can still do 3, right? And then intensity creeps up. I'm just going to pull this up real quick. Because I think it was like 3 reps in reserve, then 2, 2 for 2 weeks, then 1, 1, 0. If I said it right. But either way, the last week then, so week 6, is then a deload to where it's 8 reps in reserve. It's only 1 working set for the main movements and only 2 for like the smaller stuff, let's call it. And then I go into a new cycle. This allows you to really target specific muscle groups that you want to prioritize. Like you still train everything. You still got your leg days, your upper body, etc. But this allows you to really focus on specific areas, right? And for me, that was chest and shoulders for the most part, in this cycle at least. So let me take you through a week here. So I would have 5 days, or I've been having 5 days. Let me see real quick. Let's take you through day 1, which is chest and arms. Just so you have an idea, right? So I'm going to speak to working sets, which does not include a few warm-up sets that I will do with most movements, kind of depending which movement. So day 1, and you might be surprised that these are not a lot of sets, and I will say it increase over time, but just so you know. Day 1, so we have a Smith machine bench press and an incline, 2 sets, then dumbbell press, flat, 2 sets. And for both of those movements, I've been sticking within just about 12 to 15. And then I did machine flies as well, 15 to 20 reps. Cable triceps push down, 2 sets. Seated cable row, actually 1 set. And then dumbbell lateral raise, 2 sets. I will say this, the next week after that, all of those movements had an additional set, just so you know. So you see things are increasing, sometimes reps in weight, sometimes in sets. So in this program, I'm doing both, to where I just shared like, hey, 2 sets of, dumbbell press. Eventually it was 3, right? Now let's go through the second day. This was a lower body day. Started with belt squat, my number 1 new favorite movement that I finally get to do. I changed gyms, or actually I go to 2 different gyms now, but I love the belt squat. It's a great movement that allows you to squat very deep. But usually when I do leg press and squatting with a barbell, I'll fuck up my back. So the belt squat is really nice for that. So I was doing that. I was doing cable pull-throughs for glutes. So that was actually 3 sets. Then stiff leg deadlifts, 2 sets, leg extensions, 3 sets, and then ab wheels as well, which I threw in there, 2 sets. And then every week I tried to beat my performance, of course. Then we get into day 3, again, upper body. This time a regular bench press, flat bench, 2 sets, just about 12 reps. Machine flies, only this time I would do it with like 1 side at a time. Again, 15 to 20 reps, a couple sets, so 2 sets there. Again, the week later was 3 sets. Dumbbell skull crushers, just about 12 to 15 reps, 2 sets, and then eventually 3. Dips, same kind of thing, just body weight for now, just about 20 reps, a couple sets, so 2 to 3. Bent over rows with the barbell, just about 12 reps. And then dumbbell curls, alternating, 3 sets for that day. You see, getting into day 2 for my legs at least. So this is day 4 of the program, the second leg day. Starting with leg extensions, 2 sets, eventually 3. Stiff-legged deadlifts again. Actually, swapped that one. So I was doing dumbbell RDLs, yeah. Then I did the dumbbell split squat, pure punishment. And the barbell hip thrust, which I actually swapped for the machine. So you have that machine, it's called like the booty builder, which is a funny name, but it's what it's actually called. Really good movement, to be honest with you. I think a lot of guys are not doing that one because they think it's like a girl's exercise. Like, no, it's not. It's tough. Shit's tough. And then we get to day 5 of my program, upper body again, going back to the Smith machine press incline. So you see, I was actually focusing on that area quite a bit. Dumbbell lateral raises, triceps push down with a rope this time. Then cable overhead tricep extension with a rope as well. So this time you go over your head. And then hammer curls as well as barbell curls. So that was my program. And that has been my program. I'm just wrapping up my deload currently. It's been really nice, to be honest with you. It's been really nice to just have a good program. These are like 1-hour sessions. Way doable. To be honest with you, like these deload sessions have been like maybe 45 minutes or maybe 30 even. Like if I if I really push it, and I actually just, work out effectively and I'm not on my phone too much, it could be 30 minutes this week. But okay, that being said, so that was my training split, you see. So still training a lot, improving every single week, other than the deload, of course. And I feel like my body composition is still improving too, right? I'm in officially now a lean gaining phase, but it's barely been gaining, you know what I mean? Up until a point where I think this was 3 or 4 weeks ago now, after my weight being stable at 85, 86, it just bumped up out of nowhere. One day to the next, 2 kilos, boom, and it stayed there. But it's been there for the past 6 weeks again. So those little bumps, sometimes for me at least, when I'm in a gaining phase, it'll look like that, like a staircase, right? It'll be super stable, even though I'm adding food, which I have been doing, and then boom, it jumps up and it stays there. So for the last 6 weeks, my weight's been 87, 88, and it's just been hanging out there. My calories now are just about 3,200. I went from 29, slowly to 3,000, slowly to 3,100, 3,200, and my weight's still stable for 6 weeks straight, and I've still been adding food. This week so far, my average weight has dropped. You see? So you know how people sometimes get frustrated maybe when they're in a cut and they're not seeing their weight go down? I'm currently in a gaining phase and my weight is dropping. To give you an idea, it could be the other way around too. Doesn't mean we're not progressing. I can definitely tell I'm still lean. I'm still gaining strength. My workouts are improving. I'm good, you know what I mean? So I want to give you a 12-month recap of where I'm currently at. So let's, again, go back to 2023, November, right? And now, which is October 18th, 2024. Let's call it a month, right? Or sorry, a year. 12 months. My average weight is now 0.5 kilos higher than 1 year ago. Not a big difference, right? I'm eating more than 400 calories more. I'm consistently hitting more steps. I'm consistently hitting 5 sessions a week. With a couple exceptions, but generally speaking, right? I'm training hard, it's going well. My measurements, so over this 12-month period, have improved quite a bit. My waist measurements are the exact same as 1 year ago. I gained a little bit, but waist measurements have been the same, or are the same currently. Chest has gone up by 5.5 centimeters, biceps 2.5 centimeters, thighs 3 centimeters, hips 2 centimeters. So I've gained measurements, right, in all the right areas. Waist, which is the main measure for us men to see how much we store on body fat, has been the exact same. Of course, it's gone up and down and stuff. Right now, it's the same as 1 year ago. So that's pretty cool, right? And all in all, I'm very happy with this progress. Not just for the body composition changes, because to be honest with you, I also don't care about it too much. Like, I'm happy where I'm at, and I'd be happy just maintaining. But I like the challenge, I like to see how far I can push my body. I like a bit of a mental and physical challenge, like I said earlier. So I will still continue to do this lean gaining phase for the rest of the year. So it's October, I'll go in November, December, take a little bit of a break from tracking, those kind of things, when I go into Christmas and when I travel. But for now, I'm going to keep gaining for the rest of the year, do a mini cut in January, maybe 6 to 8 weeks. I'm going to aim for 6, a couple steps back to maintenance. And then for the majority of 2025, I'll be just kind of maintaining, at least for now. Things will always change. We all have new goals that just show up all of a sudden. But, we'll see. We'll see. So I hope you enjoyed these kind of episodes too, where I break down a little bit more of my personal journey. And if you did like this so far, do me a massive favor. Shoot me a quick message on Instagram just to say what's up, right? And let me know, hey, that was actually interesting. And of course, if you have questions about your macros, your training, your nutrition, whatever it may be, hit me up. I'm not here to just sell stuff, right? If you actually have a question, I'll just answer your questions. I'm not here to push coaching. You know what I mean? If you want to coach with us, amazing. The link will be in the show notes, every single episode. But I also want you to know that I'm someone who's willing to help anyway. I know what it's like to be confused around nutrition, training, mindset, and those kind of things. And I know it's tough sometimes. 2012, I was not in a great spot, health-wise. I was out of shape, unfit, unhappy. And the thing that really helped me at the time, eventually, after making all the mistakes in the book, was getting guidance, was getting a coach, right? He wasn't officially my nutrition coach, but he was my CrossFit coach, and he would actually help me with that stuff too, which is really cool. So guidance, accountability, but just general education, it's so important, and it's more difficult these days because of TikTok, Instagram, etc., being so confusing. So if you actually need help and you have a question, whatever, maybe hit me up on Instagram. Link is going to be in the show notes. All in all, I mean, if I think about, again, going back to perfection, or at least I put it this way, not being perfect all the time, 2024 was definitely one of those. Very challenging year in many ways, personally mostly. I went through some of the toughest times mentally, and I don't necessarily have to get into that now, but either way, I got my shit done. And I want you to hear this, and I want you to think about this too. Like, you might be going through a couple bad days, bad weeks, bad months, even a bad year. You can still work hard for your health and fitness. You can still do the work. It's not always easy. And like I said, with guidance, it's going to be better and it's going to be more effective. Hey, not everyone is even ready for change yet. That's another topic. You know, we could break that down, and we will actually. We have a guest coming up pretty soon, and we'll get into the stages of change, you know, seeing where you are currently at. In terms, hey, do you actually want to change? Do we think we need to change? Are we ready to take action? There's a big difference there. But I want you to know that even though we might be going through tough times, where we really think like, I just don't know what to do. I have these big goals. I really want to lose 5, 10 kilos, whatever it may be. I'm unhealthy, right? I want to get off these medications, whatever it may be, right? I need to work on my mindset. Those things are all still possible, even though you are going through tough times. And if anything, it's actually the tough times that make you stronger, right? You can always go back to the things you know work. You can always go to your hydration, your steps, your workouts, dialing in your nutrition, tracking, meal prep. There's all these kind of practices that will allow you to simplify nutrition, hold yourself accountable, or get someone to hold you accountable, and still get the results. Don't allow tough times to hold you back, because those are the exact moments where you get tested. Cool? Again, if you need help, hit me up on Instagram anytime. Link is going to be in the show notes. I'll talk to you soon.